Oi oi, it's your boy Hawker back with another video, this time taking a look at Bymas and comparing his time on Mouz Sports to his time on FaZe Clan. First things first, my art video kind of blew up recently and I got a bunch of new subscribers, so thank you guys for checking out the channel if you came from that. And secondly, I made a video of Bymas when he joined FaZe a few months ago, so I figured this would be a great chance to compare the roles he's got on the different teams and see if that's had any impact on his performance. Since Bymas largely came up through FPL, I figured why not start out on the Pugger's paradise that is Mirage. Back when Bymas was on FaZe Clan, he was playing as the B-site anchor on Mirage, and while he had some good looking rounds, like this one where he was flashed into the B apps, there were also plenty of rounds where Bymas made mistakes though, and at least for me personally, I want my B-site anchor to be consistent and reliable, and I don't think these are the aspects that Bymas is strongest in. I think his best asset is his aim, which he didn't really get to make the most of. This is a spot that's completely changed for Bymas now that he's on Mouz Sports though. He's now the main A-sided player, and he especially likes to play this angle towards Palace, where he's normally either at least able to get one kill onto the Palace players and gather early information, or sometimes he's able to hold his nerve in this tight corner to get multiple kills and really turn the tides of the round. Just in general, the A-site sees much more action and gives Bymas much more of an ability to showcase his aim, and he really made the most of it in this game, racking up plenty of multi-kills. This round's another example of that. He throws in a different look with an aggressive angle in towards A ramp, and while this position is susceptible to being peeked from both sides, it's the kind of spot you can throw in once per half and really shake up the opponents, and he does so with great effect in this one, picking up an important 3k. I think outside of his aim, the other thing I really liked from Bymas on this A side of the map was how often he switched up his spots and how often he seemed to be in a position that Spirit weren't expecting. This round, Spirit go for a full-on execute towards the site, and he still manages to find the sneaky spot behind Ninja to bide his time and then get 3 really crisp kills to completely counter Spirit. On the B site of Mirage, you don't really have the same ability to switch up your spot this often, but here on A, Bymas is switching it up all the time and he's doing so very successfully. There were obviously still some rounds where Bymas was only able to go 1 for 1, or rounds where he gets shut out by a really nice shot from his opponent, oftentimes when he was playing under Palace. But overall, this move for Bymas over to the A site has been very successful so far. Switching over to the T side, back when Bymas was on FaZe, he was pretty often the first man in, but he was also pretty effective on Mirage at least. This was one of the maps where they set him up much better, and he was able to use some of that really nice aim to get some of the entries. There were also a fair few rounds where he was the second man in after Rain, and this worked pretty effectively for FaZe as well. On Mouz Sports, I think his roles were fairly similar, but he was probably going in first a little bit less and going in second a little bit more. This pistol round is a good example of Bymas being the second man in, and then once they get into the 5v5 post plant, I like how Bymas gets active, gets aggressive towards Kitchen. Especially after Rops dies over in B apps, he realizes he has to take initiative and take control, and he ends up turning it into a few 1v1 fights, which he ends up winning all of them. Good 3k on the pistol, good start to the game. In the second round, Bymas is moving up through short with Chris J, and once this molly goes down onto short, I think Bymas makes the mistake of not fully clearing ladder room here. It's only going to take an extra second, and fully clearing it can make a big difference, because you're going to see as this round goes on, he gets caught in the back being the second man up short, and really that throws this round into disarray for Mouz Sports. You still get plenty of examples of Bymas being the first man in though. Here in round 4, I like this idea to quickly test the B site and to see if Magix is going to get caught off by some early aggression. But Magix deals with it really well, just sitting back, playing safe, and never giving Bymas the fight he was looking for. And unfortunately for Bymas, that means because it's a contact play, he's just going to get caught by this AWP towards short. Mouz in general ran quite a few contact plays throughout this half, and oftentimes these were the ones where Bymas was in first or even in second and just didn't have that much of a chance to do anything. Like this round here, there's basically nothing Bymas can do. His job is just to go in, die, and hope that his teammates can get onto the site. The final difference on this map between Bymas on FaZe and Bymas on Mouz is that I think Bymas was much more involved in the mid battles on Mouz. And these tended to go fairly well for him. Here in this one, he eventually spots Mir, who was completely out in no man's land, and lands a good headshot. Although the subsequent push into the A bomb site is a little bit awkward. I like the idea of trying to spray through the smoke towards stairs, but then he's just left running into the A site, clearing every angle without having a different angle of approach, which is obviously never a great spot to be in. We get another example of Bymas being behind the top mid box in this round, where he positions himself nicely, gives himself a favourable fight, and whiffs the spray horribly. This is one of the worst misses I saw from him. He made up for it in the last round of the half though, where he flashes himself into mid, shows good awareness to get this kill towards the man on short, and helps his team significantly as they make their way towards the B site. So generally, I think Bymas was good on these mid fights. Switching over to Nuke, again it's a completely different CT spot for Bymas. Over on FaZe, he was playing ramp, and ramp is the classic position where you don't really get to do a whole lot. In the rounds where Bymas was tested when he was playing ramp for FaZe, I think he generally looked okay. This was a nice round where he quickly fell back towards B with the time being low and got some kills with his teammates. But there were rounds where he would get picked off at ramp, and again, ramp is kind of a similar position to the B site of Mirage, where your main aim is just to stay alive and buy time for your teammates, not really to frag out. Over on Mouse Sports, Bymas is playing on the A side of the map, specifically generally around that silo/top hut area. Similar to what I was saying on Mirage, I think this spot makes a lot more sense for him. It's another position where you're going to be much more active, you'll get fights way more often, so Bymas can use that aim of his. In my opinion, the A site is also one where you don't have to make as many decisions. In general, I find that your rotations and your decision making is more down to the spots your teammates have given up and the aggression and information your teammates have. Anyway, here on the pistol round, again we get more of this sneaky Bymas. He's got a real knack for getting into these good spots. Unfortunately, he apparently has a knack for whiffing them sometimes as well. Another round where he gets a really bad miss. Often you'd see the young gun playing behind silo to begin with, and then I think this was his favourite spot. He really liked playing this off angle out in the open, partly because it's a somewhat unexpected position, but partly because it's less likely to be affected by any nades from an exec. In this specific round, he gets a good enough 1-for-1 trade while keeping vitality in this choke. When having to rotate down to B, generally Bymas did pretty well. Once he gets the info that Secret is open in this round, he rotates down the vents fast, and even though he doesn't get a kill to begin with, he does a good job at delaying and then realizing that the only way he's going to get out of this is by wide swinging for a fight, and the 1-for-1 trade here is fine, just because he's delayed vitality for so long. Another example of this rotate down the vents came in round 23, where he gets the timing just right and lands a really good shot to begin with. As this round ticks down though, I think when you know Vitality have weaker weapons in this round, you've got to be a bit more confident than this on this retake from Decon. Especially when Chris J pushes in first, I think you've just got to go for this trade kill. I understand that Bymas is probably a bit concerned that both of the players at Decon made steps, and he's probably waiting for Frozen to come in to help him out, but still, when you've got the AK, I think you've just got to take this fight. As for his actual A holds, they were kind of a mixed bag. Here in round 28, he puts down this smoke and gives himself what I think should be a favourable fight against RPK, but maybe he could just sit back for a split second longer in case RPK is running this aggressively, because he ends up losing this battle. There were rounds where he nearly made the difference all by himself though. This spray down with the Falas from the vents nearly nets him 3 kills, and this is a really good display of skill. But then again, in round 30, he's in a pretty good position, in a spot where he probably should win the fight, and he just misses completely and doesn't even look ready for it. Overall, I didn't see too much wrong with the positioning though, which is a good takeaway going forwards. Finally, honing in on the T side of Nuke, Bymas was very often the entry fragger on the T side of this specific map because Rain was fairly frequently away from the rest of the pack. If you remember the video that I made a few months ago when Bymas was on FaZe, you'll remember that he only got 1 kill throughout this entire T side, and that was this Glock kill that came in the pistol round, which was well taken, but in a bunch of the other rounds, he was just being sent in first with poor utility or poor calls. It never really felt like he got a chance to do anything on the T side, through no fault of his own. Once again, it was much more common for Bymas to be the second man in on Mouz Sports, and the rounds where he was the first man in were much more on his own terms. Like here in round 8, where he had a really good spawn, decided to go for the fast drop onto top main, and then once he hears this AWP shot from ZywOo, he knows he can round this corner really safely. The only thing he would have been scared of here would have been an AWP, so he can get into an advanced position and bam! See you next round, Apex. That's a great shot, and that's a lot of ground gain for his team. We get a similar story in the next round, where again Bymas has the best spawn and decides to go for this main drop. He does get slowed down by this nade, but he's got all his teammates around him at yard, so once the fights start to happen around main, Bymas can just make the most of this, drop down onto both of these players, and well, fortune favors the bold with this lineup. A lovely little double kill, and Mouz Sports are really working around this aggression. It's teamwork with the aggression, which is great to see. There were many rounds where Bymas was the second man in, like this one where he's following up Chris J's Mac 10, and he does a good job here, just getting this assist and kill onto the site and getting information so that the AK behind him has the best possible chance of clinching the round, which is exactly what happens. If Bymas is going to start to have some more of these roles towards the middle or back of the pack, he'll have to showcase a more cerebral style of play and good awareness of where his opponents can be. And in this spot, when his teammates are already clearing out the angles ahead of him, I think he just needs to be ready for aggression behind the red container here. It's pretty common for someone to be playing around this box, and his lack of awareness costs him in this round. For the most part though, Mouz Sports were most frequently using Bymas as sort of a second or third man in. Normally just to try and follow up that initial entry fragger, get the trade kills, and have that buddy system to be able to get the trades to begin with, and then maybe have some utility for the post plants. And in this role, I think he's pretty competent right now. His aim is good, he generally sticks close enough to get the trades, and he also is able to pick out a couple of really aggressive plays every half, which almost always seem to work well for him, and that's another good asset to have on your team. So overall, I much prefer the roles that Mouz Sports are putting Bymas in. He's definitely getting more of a chance to showcase himself, especially in his CT spots. I think that's where the biggest improvement has been made. As for on the T side, when he was on FaZe, I think he was going in first a bit more frequently, which could have been fine. It's just that I didn't really think that FaZe were running many good plays, which is always going to be rough for an entry fragger. But I also think he's pretty good in this second man in role where he seems to be finding his feet with Mouz Sports. So yeah, I think this will be a good chance for Bymas to really get to show us what he's made of. I don't think I'm going to count that stint in FaZe too much, because FaZe have even admitted themselves they didn't really get the chance to change around the roles and really get the most out of Bymas. So this is a great chance for Bymas to show how good he is, show if he can be even more well-rounded. And that is going to be me done for the day. Thank you guys for watching, and thanks for all the support on the channel recently. I hope you've been enjoying, and I will catch you next time.